Hey everybody, before this video starts, we're using an Allen and Heath 10 input mixer. It's got 8 outputs. So I'm just assigning in the video, see me talking about the master output. The master output in this case is going to the stream or to the DAW. In some cases that's going to change. If you have speakers hooked up, make sure that the speakers are not routed to that output, because you want a separate output for your stream, and we'll get into that in another video. So I hope you like it. So this is how this works. I wish I had this mic over just a touch more, but that's all right. So the microphone that I'm talking through is the microphone that we're going to work on the preamp. I promise I'm not going to blow your eardrums out, but I'm going to show you what happens. So the first thing we want to do is look at the pre, okay? So on this, the first button is config, and that is to all my inputs. So this is an input 1, and here is the gain of the preamp. So the first thing you want to do before you even touch the gain of the preamp, and I'm just giving you a fail-safe way to do this so you don't look like a schmo when you get to the church or you get to the studio, is go in and set the input fader at -5. This is just a rule of thumb. It'll really help you out, I promise. Set the capture, which on the right here on this mixer, that would be like my playback, okay, that I'm capturing into my stream. So most, if we're using like a mixer like this to do a podcast, that's why I use this. That is my main left and right output. That's my main level. That would be the main level going to the monitors. That would be the main level that the people are hearing. So you're getting yourself a little bit of headroom, so not everything has to go up to 11. Well, this one goes to 10. Some guys got that joke. It's not that funny, but anyways, so we want to buy ourselves a little bit of headroom here on the mixer, and I really want to push my vocal, but I'm probably good for you guys. So now I have -5 on the mixer. Okay, that's on the input fader. So what you're hearing captured is actually post fader. You can check that out later in a different video. I'll explain what that means. If you're new to recording, if you're not, just bypass that. And then my main output's at -5. That's giving me about 10 dBs of headroom to work with. So now we're going to go address the pre. Okay, so this microphone can hold a lot, man. So I can give it a little bit more juice. I can give it a little less. Okay, we're in there. You're not hearing anything. What you're listening for, is it starting to break up? Is it starting to sound bad? Am I starting to get, muffled? Now, for the video purposes, so I didn't blow your eardrums, I actually did put a set it, forget it compressor, as you can see at the bottom of this digital mixer. So it is grabbing me if I get too loud. Now, if I take it off, you see how I'm jumping a little bit more? So the compressor is meant to work at that level. So all around we have a good thing going on. So now the presets on your digital mixer and stuff are going to work like they should. So we'll go back to the config. I can hear the compressor pulling a little bit, right? So we can probably tame that down. I'm like totally dimed. I'm at 60, and you can hear that compressor is working very, very transparent with this setting, with this microphone. So each microphone's going to be different, but for a rule of thumb, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go to your fader, set the input fader to -5, set the output to -5. If you're using just basic DAW software, that's set usually with the interface in some way. So every interface is different, but just understand that. Every preamp's different. So usually a higher end preamp, like we use in big recording studios, they'll have an input gain, mic gain, then they'll have an output trim so you can turn down the gain after the compressor. So just think about that. But most mixers and stuff, just like you just saw with the Allen and Heath, they can do that. So now this is what we're going to do. So I have a pretty hit vocal, okay? But since the video started, the last thing that we need to focus on is me and how I'm hearing it. So you guys are hearing something totally different than I'm hearing.
So the fourth step is your headphone mix, your feedback. What are you hearing? So if you're in a live situation, you're hearing the monitors and that's not a big deal. But if you're in a recording situation, you're hearing the headphones or you're hearing the headphone feed. If you're recording yourself at home, you're hearing your headphones. So this is a big deal, and I'm going to tell you why. If we go back over to my camera here, on this, I have the headphones set to about 1 o'clock, okay? Once again, I'm just buying myself some real estate, and most of the time this is going to get you a better result because now you're hearing it for what the unit I think was meant to do. I mean, it's not everything is supposed to be dime to 20, okay? So now I have a little headroom to work with, and I can hear myself. It's a good balance, and now if I want to hear myself more, I can turn myself up. And as I turn myself up, you guys don't hear it different, but now I'm hearing it probably the way that the feed is heard, because the feed's at 0, okay, or -5. Now I have that headroom and I'm in the ballpark. So I'm monitoring it correct. What I mean by that, by having a little less headphone out, having a little less master gain, and having a little less input gain, I'm probably hearing what my voice sounds like. Now that's a great fail-safe way to make sure that you're in the ballpark when somebody's really breathing down your neck and you don't have all this time. And also you're going to get a better result. Here's what you don't want to do. And we'll end the video with what you don't want to do. You don't want to go, when you first get to wherever you're at or you're in the studio, you don't want to turn the fader up really loud, okay? The problem that a lot of people do, and I'm not even going to do it on the video because it'll probably peak because we're at a really good level. But if I turn this way up, a lot of guys have either the headphone mix way down, so that's like way down here, so they can't hear themselves. So they end up doing this and turning this way up just to hear themselves. And that's where distortion comes from. That's where peaking comes from. That's where digital clipping comes from. That's where over compression comes from. Because, like I said, this thing has its own built-in compressor, and now I'm going to send too much of a feed to it. So the front end is going to be really out of whack, and you're really going to screw that up. So I would always say this. If you're just starting new, you're just getting into a piece of equipment, you're trying to get the right levels, you're just setting the podcast, you're trying to do the right things, you're setting up your band at church, go to your feed. In this case, mine's the headphone feed. Go to about 1, maybe 3, and then just sit there for a little bit. Okay, now go back to your input fader, set it to -5. Go back to your main feed that's going to your capture, set it to around -5 so you have some headroom, and then go to your pre. So literally what I just said, and hopefully this really helps you guys out, that should really help. Just do it backwards. Do it backwards. Go to your headphones. Okay, where's my headphones at? All right, let's set it to about, and find out what your interface is and what sounds natural. Even play back some music through your headphones at peak 0, on a channel. And you can do that with most interfaces, USB interfaces. Set that to a really good level. Go back to your channels. Let's go back here. Set those to, whatever's comfortable on your stuff. Just give yourself a little headroom before 0. And then go to your pre, and then set that till you get a good level. So I hope that really helps somebody out there. And one last thing, that's a jewel, okay? If you have a guy in the studio and he starts singing or she starts singing or starts rapping or whatever's going on, and it seems like they're stressing, they're pushing, they're screaming, okay? They're screaming. Don't turn up the pre, okay? If you got a good level coming in, you might want to turn up the headphones, okay? So what they're hearing might be low, so they're screaming louder. So turn those headphones up, and now they feel comfortable, and now they're laying back in the performance. You see what I mean? So there is a trick and there's an art to recording. So if a guy's really, really low and he's talking like this and he's, you know, he's a rapper and he's trying to do this and he's really mumbling and he's not doing it on purpose, but he's like, man, he's got no energy. You might want to look at might want to look at the actual headphone out as being too loud. So always start backwards to diagnose the problem. And I really hope this helped you guys. Don't ever start with the preamp to address the problem. But when you first get into recording, you just don't know this stuff. So my name's Doug Jenkins. We do mixing and mastering. And I thank you for continuing to watch. And hopefully this helps you guys out there. We'll see you.